If you're a business owner and would like more information on sponsoring Geek Therapy Radio, just email geektherapy@iheartmedia.com or call 713-212-8422. And with that, meeting adjourned. Let's get our geek on.
High tech, low tech, or no tech. Through our hobbies and our passions, the geek comes out in us all.
The world's of geekdom.
I am a geek and I'm proud of it.
Geeks.
Geeks unite.
Let's get those nerds! Nerds! No!
Did you just call me a nerd?
Not all geeks are nerds.
Yeah.
This is Geek Therapy Radio.
What are we waiting for?
And now your mental curator, Johnny Hamburger.
Welcome to Geek Therapy Radio. I am Johnny Hamburger, as always, your mental curator. And I've got a great show this week coming up here in just a minute. I'm sitting right across from one of my best friends in the entire universe, Craig Groba. How are you doing, Craig?
Doing fine.
So, in the next segment, actually in the next two segments, Sarah and I talk some theater stuff. So, theater geeks, get your ears perked. And anybody else who might be interested, it's just a good conversation. But we are going to start off the best conversation right now here in the first segment with like I said, one of my best friends in the entire universe, Craig Groba. Craig, how are you doing today?
Doing fine.
So,
eat good lunch.
You ate a good lunch? You already ate?
No, about 12.
Oh, at 12 o'clock. I was going to say, right now we're recording and it's almost 11. It's 10:59. And we're getting underway here. Craig is, I'm not going to say the exact location where he's at, but it's, an adult daycare type situation? All your friends are here. Yeah. So, Craig, you know, this show's called Geek Therapy Radio. We actually tried to do this interview last week, but the audio got all messed up. So, what did you do last week that you might be doing today? Are you going to go...
Go somewhere?
Where are you going today?
$5 something.
$5 something?
I don't know.
Well, last week it was your birthday.
Yep.
And it was opening day. The first day of the Astros season.
Yep.
It was your birthday.
Yep.
So where did you go for your birthday?
Eat at home.
Eat at home? That's not what I'm talking about, Craig. When I came, you were super
Go bowling.
That's right, went bowling. And I am not ashamed to say that I have been bowling with Craig.
Bowling, yep.
And I used to be pretty good at bowling. I used to average 200.
200.
So the last time I went bowling with Craig, I was very rusty, and it turns out that Craig kicked my butt for one of the games. No cheating. No handicap, no nothing, no bumpers.
No butter.
No, you just did so good at bowling that... So would you say that is one of your geek things, bowling?
Bowling.
You just geek out about bowling.
Yeah.
That's one of your favorite hobbies.
Yep.
What else do you like? When you call my mom's house every day at dinner time.
Dinner time.
What are you doing when you're calling us? What do you ask me what I'm doing?
Tell me, do.
No, you got to tell me, Craig.
Watch TV?
That's right. Every night for 20-something years, since 1996, Craig has called the house, and his first words are...
Go to church.
Oh, well, yes, he asked if he can go to church with my mom on Sunday, but then he asked what we're watching on TV.
Watch on TV?
Yep. A long time ago, what was your favorite thing to watch on TV? Alan Hamburger. Here, Craig, remember not to smack the table so much. I know you're excited.
Alan Hamburger.
Yep. He was your favorite?
Yep.
Now what's your favorite to watch on TV?
Watch baseball.
Baseball.
Mike Stanton. Mike Stanton is actually Craig's cousin. That's crazy. Mike Stanton was a pitcher for the New York Yankees. Now I think he talks on the TV. Talk on TV.
Does he work for the Astros? I forget if he works for the Astros. For the Astros?
Talk on.
I know he talks.
Astros. Talk baseball.
He talks baseball with the Astros, right. So Mike Stanton is Craig's cousin. Now, Craig, let's go back for a second. Your favorite thing to watch on TV used to be
He's a walker.
Rockets, but you said it was My Dad.
Yep.
Did you like My Dad? Was he nice? Where's My Dad now?
Above.
Yeah. He is up in heaven.
Above.
And I bet you, if heaven had a phone number, Craig, you would probably be calling him, wouldn't you?
Yep.
If you could call My Dad, what would you say?
Watch baseball.
You would call heaven. Jesus would answer the phone.
Yeah.
You'd ask to talk to My Dad.
Yeah.
And then of all the questions in the universe to ask My Dad, who is in heaven and knows everything about the universe now.
Yep.
Your first question would be
Baseball. Church.
baseball and
Church too.
baseball and church. Do they have church in heaven?
Yeah.
Do you think? Did you? I don't think you probably ever. Did you ever go to church with my dad?
Yeah, one more time.
One time?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Was it really early in the morning?
Something.
Because my dad used to go
Yeah.
to like sunrise mass. He used to go to mass at like 5:30 in the morning or the 6 a.m. service.
One more time.
It was nuts. He put on a suit and then would go to mass that early in the morning. So I kind of doubt you went to that mass with him.
No, for Christmas from all time.
For Christmas, right. Probably a long time ago. Craig, what would you do? This is a memory that that just popped up in my head. Sometimes me and my brother, what's my brother's name?
Danny.
Yeah, me and Danny would walk into church.
Yeah.
And what would you do if you saw us? You wouldn't just wave. You would come running and screaming like a wild banshee across the entire congregation. And this is Catholic church. We're supposed to be praying. It's supposed to be quiet. And Craig is just running like having a little hootenanny across the church to say hi to me and Danny. What was your favorite thing to do to my brother? You can say it. What was your favorite? Pat him on the head. So you would run across the church, causing a big old scene, and then pat my brother on the head. What are some of my other friends' names? My friends. They're your friends too.
Michael Buffalo.
Michael is the one who first introduced us to you. He's the one, Michael, who made you go to our house one day in the middle of summertime, 1996 or 1997. Craig just shows up at the door, sweating his butt off because he just rode his bike. How many miles was that?
Far away.
It was very far away.
Yeah.
7 or 8, 9, maybe 10 miles.
10 miles.
And for those listeners not listening in our city who aren't listening to KPRC 950 AM right now, Houston is very hot in the summer.
Hot summer.
So this might have been like August or something like that. 100 degrees outside, 100% humidity. Craig just shows up. And I remember, I don't know, I don't think this is mean because we would have done it to any of our friends and probably have. Craig, you would show up to our door in the middle of August, 100 degrees outside, soaking in sweat. And the first thing we would have you do is we would literally spray you with deodorant. Because anybody who's just trekked 10 miles on a bike in Houston in the summer, you don't show up to the other person's house smelling like a daisy. No. So we would spray you with, you were probably smelling pretty good. Who's your girlfriend, Craig? Speaking of smelling good, is it somebody here? No? You used to come over and tell us about your girlfriend, Amy.
Amy all time ago.
Was that your girlfriend?
I don't know. All time ago.
You don't know? Was she playing hard to get? Was she being coy with you? Probably. What happened to Amy? Where's Amy at now?
I don't know. I don't see them more.
But she was in Kingwood, right?
In Kingwood.
Do you remember Lance?
Yeah, Lance, yeah.
Is he still? Do you ever see Lance anymore?
Yeah, sometime.
When's the last time you saw Lance?
I don't know.
Well, Lance used to work with me and Danny
Yeah, Lance work with Danny.
at Jay Christopher's.
Yeah, Lance. Yeah.
And sometimes you would come to Jay Christopher's and mess with us.
Mess up.
Yep.
Yep.
Do you wish you could have worked at Jay Christopher's with us?
Yeah.
What did Lance do? Oh, he washed dishes.
What dishes?
You wash dishes. Where did you wash dishes?
What dishes? Cookout all time.
Cookouts.
Yeah.
And then did it change to Skeeters or something like that?
Yep.
So, Craig,
Yep.
what do you think your favorite thing? What do you think is your favorite thing in the world? The biggest thing you geek out about?
Work. Too.
Work?
Yeah.
You like to work.
Yep.
When's the last time you worked?
I don't know. All more time.
Long time ago. Well, Craig, I've known Craig for, like I said, since 1996 or so. How many
Yep.
years? How many? 20 years? Over 20 years. We've been best friends for a long time. Craig, thank you so much for coming on Geek Therapy Radio.
Okay.
I know my dad would be proud of you since you're on the radio now. He's probably stoked about this. More Geek Therapy Radio to come. Stick around. We will be right back in just a few minutes. www.geektherapyradio.com and all the social media. Geek Therapy Radio, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I think that's it. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I hope you enjoyed that interview with one of my best friends, Craig. I went to visit him at his, what would you even call it? Adult activities center. And hope you enjoyed that insightful interview. Craig has surprisingly lots of things to say. I'm always surprised when I talk to him that he has so much input, so much response, and he's been working with a speech therapist, so it made the interview all the more doable. Anyways, I am here now with Sarah, the unofficial producer of Geek Therapy Radio, and this is a segment for theater geeks. Back in the day, 2003. Actually, Sarah, say hello.
Hi, friends.
Yeah, friends. Back in the day, 2003, when I moved from Houston to Los Angeles, I volunteered, or was volunteered to, but I volunteered on an off-Broadway play. I think I told you about this, Sarah.
Is this the one where you had to wear tights? Or a dress or something?
That was 2008. Yeah. That was 2008 when I was in Good Night Desdemona, Good Morning Juliet, or whatever that play was called. That it was a Shakespearean. It was based on Shakespeare, but it was a comedy. Blah blah blah. That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh.
In 2003, I was a stagehand, basically, for an off-Broadway play in Thousand Oaks, California, called Mame.
Mame.
Did you ever see Mame?
No, I've never heard of that.
Okay, well, it's a very popular play. It's probably somewhere in the country right now. When was it written? I think the 70s. Don't quote me on that. Theater geeks, I'm sure, will tell me, or you're yelling at the radio, or your podcast speakers, your earphones, your Bluetooth speaker, when Mame was written, because some of you might have worked on Mame.
How do you spell that?
M-A-M-E. Auntie Mame. It was about an eccentric aunt named Auntie Mame. And she basically she didn't want to grow up. She was in a nutshell, she was an eccentric socialite. And she was always throwing parties at her lavish apartment. She was always having people over, and basically I didn't play this person, but her nephew taught her some life lessons, I guess you could say. Anyways, I was a stagehand, and I was responsible for a lot of
setting up the stage in between set changes and whatnot. And I even had a choreographed part where I and one other stagehand were inside of a staircase, because part of that play was that the staircase comes off the set and it twirl, and Auntie Mame is on the top of it singing a song. It's a musical. She's singing a song, and the staircase is like moving around and moving across the stage and doing twirls and stuff. So I was on the inside of that set piece, pushing this massive staircase around. It was on rollers, obviously, and my only guidance was glow in the dark tape on the stage. So I'd be watching my feet the whole time while I'm pushing, trying to keep the marks on the stage lined up. And I knew when I got to this certain mark that I need to pivot and go along this direction and pivot again and twirl around. And the end of that scene was that the stage had to move, that the staircase had to move quickly behind not a curtain, proscenium, whatever. It was another backdrop. Like they had backdrops to be like countryside, backdrops to be the cityscape, backdrops to be whatever, her apartment. So at the end of this scene, I had to make sure that the staircase was behind that curtain as it was coming down. And all of this is just set to music, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if we weren't back in that position by the time the curtain came down, the curtain could come down, on the staircase. It's basically right when Mame would step off the staircase, we move the stairs back in such a certain way that I swear the curtain came down inches from the front of the piece. Like, you had to be on the mark every single time. And the reason why I got on this subject is that Sarah and I were watching a commercial, and she's like, I guess that guy is just in this play. I'll let you tell you. What's the play? Sarah schooled me on it.
Yes, it's not a play. It's a Broadway musical, and it's Hamilton. Hamilton, people. You all know what Hamilton is.
I had no idea.
Probably. Johnny's never heard of it. And this guy that was on the commercial, I said he's probably on Hamilton, which, in fact, he is.
Oh.
And
you Googled it?
I did. And I'm surprised that you don't know.
Well, I can't be on top of every... You said
what
it's a
kind of
musical.
geek are you?
I'm not really a huge theater geek. I like the theater. I want to go to more plays. I say that every single year. I want to go to more plays. You said that it's a Broadway musical. It's not a play.
It's the top Broadway musical.
It's a play.
Whatever.
A Broadway musical is still a play, I think. Arguably, maybe.
What is the difference?
There's more singing in a musical, but it's still characters prancing around the stage.
Right, but when you say play, I think of actors where there's not musical, or when there's not musical elements.
Yeah.
But a Broadway musical is music and acting. An opera is only singing, no speaking.
Well, you okay, it's not, okay. Those are three different things, of course. A play doesn't really have any singing in it. A musical has singing, but it's mostly just dialogue. And then you said an opera is all singing. So yes, there are differences. I wouldn't necessarily, well, I don't know. I can't remember if I've ever been to an opera. Is an opera that different than a musical or a play? Obviously it is.
Yes, especially if you don't realize that there's no speaking. I had a friend one time, we were watching Les Mis.
That's just how people talk.
They didn't realize that there was no speaking, so they were waiting for the speaking parts the whole time, and it never happened. We were like 30 minutes into the show, and they were like, when are they going to speak?
It's an opera.
There's no speaking in this.
So would High School Musical be an opera?
Oh, my goodness.
Did you have a poster of Zac Efron up?
I didn't. No,
I bet you
I
did.
didn't have a poster of Zac Efron. I did have a crush on him because he was the music person and he was the jock. So he was the best
in the
movie.
in the movie.
But in real life, now he's he plays more of a bro, but he still sings.
Oh yeah. Was it his real voice in High School Musical?
Yeah.
Was it all of their real voices in High School Musical? I've never seen High School Musical all the way through. Apparently, there's like 16 of them.
I won't judge you for that. That's okay if you haven't seen it. But I will judge you for not knowing Hamilton because I don't know how you hadn't heard of it. And I think it's so popular now because it's so different from what other musicals typically are.
You know what really blew my mind in all of this is Sarah was looking up because I asked, is this off Broadway? Do they do other productions across the city? And Sarah's like, let me see. You said ticket. Where's it coming to in Houston at the end of this month?
They're coming to the Hobby Center in April and May. So the end of April, they'll be here and through May.
And
through the end of May.
How much did you say the cheapest tickets you could find were? Cheapest tickets.
Okay, well, there were two different ones. I looked at a matinee in April, and
which should be cheap.
Than
usual.
I don't know when these tickets went on sale. I didn't even know Hamilton was coming to Houston. That's how little I know about the production, but I do know about the production. Anyways, back on topic. The matinee for April was over $650 for one ticket.
You didn't have your glasses on. Maybe it was $64.
My contacts are in. No. And then I looked at May to see and this is like the second to last show. This is the matinee in May, the end of May. And the cheapest, I think, is $250, around $250 for one ticket. That's how popular it is.
Yeah. I didn't know about the $250 part until we were just recording. She originally said the cheapest tickets for this month.
For April, yeah.
Like $650.
Well, probably when they went on sale, they were not as crazy.
Were you looking at like an actual like
Ticketmaster?
$650 is like, that's like what a scalper would get to try to get a private viewing of Chris Pratt's junk.
But I wonder what this would be comparable to as far as... I missed that completely. I heard what you said, but I ignored it. This is what happens, folks.
Yeah, wow.
I just ignore these types of comments.
I'm sure Sarah would pay it.
Whatever.
I'd say, never mind.
Wicked.
I'd pay slightly less.
Was another giant.
You're just gonna glance right past all that.
Broadway musical.
Okay.
Yes, I'm staying on topic.
I've seen Wicked.
You saw Wicked?
Wicked was
you
Wicked.
You know what Wicked is?
I saw Wicked in Hollywood, baby.
Whoa.
I saw Wicked in Hollywood.
I saw it
was
in
amazing.
New York City on Broadway.
They had a big, was it like a dragon or something that comes out of the top of the stage? You saw it in whatever rickety dink little
in
cabin
New York City?
theater. Oh yeah, okay. You saw it on Broadway?
Yes. I just said that. Did you
it
guys
cost
hear that?
$650?
No, it cost $100.
Not see.
But I was on the back row behind a column.
So what's the $650 ticket you saw for this unknown play?
Some kind of box, because I looked at tickets for just a regular night and they were only singles. So it said underneath how much it cost, and then it said, by the way, there's only solo tickets, so you're going to be sitting by yourself! !
I will dip into the nest egg to get tickets to that show if I can dress up like an old late 19th century dandy and use those binoculars on a brass pole.
Sure.
And so, can I grow a mustache too and wax it and like,
Yeah.
yes, Miss Hamilton, see? Mm-hmm. Is that how they all? Hamilton, see? That's like the 20s gangster. Oh. But I would dress up like a fancy man and we'll use the binoculars on a brass pole.
Okay.
What was your favorite part of Wicked?
My favorite part of Wicked?
It's probably the music, but go on.
Well, you see, I listened to the soundtrack and sang from Wicked before I actually went to Broadway to see it. Like, I sang in high school for different shows and used songs from that. So I had this, and I read the book.
There's a book?
Yes.
Is it based on a book?
Yes, I think it is.
It would make
Well,
more
it's
sense. Why would they make a book
Wizard of
about
Oz.
a play? Well, I
Expanded
know it's
from.
loosely based off Wizard of Oz. Was Wizard of Oz a book?
Yes,
Are you sure? Before it was a movie?
I think so.
Probably.
Everything's a book.
If it's not, we're sounding really stupid right now. But
Anyways.
it's fine. That's for you geeks to email me, Geek Therapy Radio, or geektherapy@iheartmedia.com, geektherapy@iheartmedia.com, or geektherapyradio.com. Let us know. Was The Wizard of Oz a book before it was a movie? Because we're talking about Wicked, which is based off of Wizard of Oz. And I enjoyed Wicked too.
I never finished the book, so once I got to the Broadway show,
You knew what was going to happen up until last 15 minutes.
right?
Like,
Which was the big surprise. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't.
I don't
seen
even
it.
remember what. I don't even remember. The girl gets her wish or whatever. I have no idea.
Do you
Something
remember
like that.
The premise of like why she's
She like wants to
Green.
sleep with a bunch of dudes and
Really?
something like that, right?
she was no.
No, I'm way off base.
Yeah.
I forget. It was really good, but I just forget the whole premise of the thing. It was Dorothy, but she wanted she wanted all the stuff. She wanted the heart. She wanted bravery. She wanted to be smart or
She
something.
wanted love.
Well, of course.
And she couldn't have it, and whatever. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
You asked for my favorite part. I loved the duets. So when Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, I love them, and that specifically for Idina Menzel, that was my favorite role for her. She was in Rent. She was in Frozen. She has played many roles, but my favorite is her as Elphaba in Wicked.
I'm going to put a pause in here and say we'll be right back with more Geek Therapy Radio. We're going to continue this conversation about plays and such. During the break, which is, if you're listening to the podcast, is instant, so just do it after the podcast. But if you're listening on the actual radio here on KPRC 950 AM, go like, follow, and subscribe, Geek Therapy Radio. You can just type it into Google, Geek Therapy Radio. Make sure it's with Johnny Hamburger, and follow me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all those good things.
Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook, Geek Therapy Radio on Instagram, Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube, and what else?
GeekTherapyRadio.com.
Geek Therapy
Therapy at
Radio
iHeartMedia.com.
iHeartMedia.com. That's Geek Therapy Radio at iHeartMedia.com.
Wrong.
Geek Therapy at iHeartMedia.com.
I know. I need to change that. We'll be right back with more Geek Therapy. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. If you remember in the previous segment, Sarah and I were talking about plays and musicals, and in particular, we cut off the segment talking about Wicked. Who did you go see Wicked with? I went to see with my mom and Bima and Gail
I went with a friend.
and Uncle Ron.
Wow, it was a full family.
Yeah, Hollywood, baby.
How many people is that?
4 people or something. 4 or 5 people. 4 people.
Nice.
And this was like a last second thing. I don't know what I was doing or not doing, but I think like the day before, my mom went out to visit Bima and Aunt Gail. Bima was living in California at the time. I was like, I'll go. She, okay. So we bought a ticket. Tickets between Houston and Los Angeles are pretty cheap. So anyways, I went out there just last minute. I was single, probably recently broken up actually, and went out and we landed the plane, ate at Sizzler, which is kind of nearby LAX, and then we watched Wicked, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't have anything against plays, and I think when I went to see Wicked, that's what made me say yes to volunteering to be a stagehand on MAME. Because I don't think up until that point I'd ever been to a play on that scale with that much production value. I was always used to high school theater and community college theater, which is great. Me and Bima and I used to go to quite a few community college productions in Moore Park, which is a neighboring city to Simi Valley, California, just a little further down the 118 freeway. But so when I went to California to live and I was working in my Aunt Gail and Uncle Ron's business called Image Tech at the time, one of my coworkers, she was older. She was also working on the play. She said, "Would you be interested? And we need another stagehand for this production in Thousand Oaks or Moore Park for a play called Mame." And I had just seen Wicked.
So it inspired you.
No, or did I see Wicked after? Either way, I think it was this. I volunteered for Mame first, so that a couple years later, when I went back to Los Angeles and we saw Wicked, I volunteered for Mame. Went back to Los Angeles a few years later. We saw Wicked, and I really appreciated Wicked because I was a stagehand on a pretty high production value play. So all the stuff and all the scene changes and all the sets and the lights and everything like that, like I was thinking of everything that was involved there. And I had already gone to sound school too, Soundmaster Recording Engineering School in North Hollywood, nearby where that famous shootout happened in the late 90s. 2 Romanian guys robbed a bank. Remember that, listeners? Remember that shootout in North Hollywood? There were still bullet holes. During breaks in class, we'd walk around, be like, there's still bullet holes here on the sidewalk. Crazy. Anyways, Wicked was awesome.
I agree. When I was in college, I was in a music fraternity. So it was a co-ed professional fraternity. And I
Professional
went...
fraternity?
Yeah.
Professional
well,
frat?
we had to say professional because there were some that were just your general sororities and fraternities.
I was professional at doing keg stands.
We were a dry fraternity. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is, you asked who I went with. I went with my big brother in the fraternity. He was...
gay.
Yes, as a matter of fact. But we went together, and we had been singing in other things together in college. And I took dance in college. My degree is...
Did you pass?
Yes. I took 2 years, actually.
Oh, you had to repeat
and
it
I
again?
passed both.
You had to repeat it here. I had to repeat kindergarten. I got nothing to talk about.
Kindergarten. Anyways, my degree is a Bachelor of Science in Music, supposedly performance. Performance was technically not an option, but that's what we call it. And I thought that I would use that to be a performer and came here and auditioned for Tuts. And
Tuts?
That was
Theater Under the
disaster.
Stars.
Yeah.
Wow, and it's not a disaster. What are you
It was a
talking about? It's
disaster.
not a disaster.
My audition was a disaster.
But it's still a valuable...
Oh, it's a great. Yeah. No, I'm just saying that when I auditioned, I was surrounded by people who went to all of these magnets that have portfolios bigger than anything I ever dreamed of doing. And they were probably 4 years younger than me.
And they probably got the same rejection that you got.
But it was very intimidating.
Theater Under the Stars, I don't think you get... Do actors get paid for that? Because I thought Theater Under the Stars was a nonprofit. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm pulling that out of my butt.
It was mostly just for experience to get on stage. And there was no feedback whatsoever.
Speaking of trying things that might scare you, also back in the day, I thought it would be cool to get into voice acting. I got to get Johnny Young Bosch back on the show. Anyways, I wanted to be a voice actor because I thought I had a good kind of youthful anime voice. And I didn't care if anyone saw. I didn't care if these animes were popular, because what listeners might know or might not know is that Houston is like outside of Los Angeles, or even bigger than Los Angeles, is the mecca for ADR on anime, for dubbing English over Japanese anime. So I went to this place downtown to audition for, to get roles doing English overdubs of anime. And I went in there, and like you said, there's all these professionals there, like these consummate professionals that study the craft, actors. A lot of them, most of them are actors, are bona fide actors. To do voiceover work convincingly, like, it helps to be an actual trained thespian. But I did it, and I'm filling out the application or whatever, and I'm in the room with 30 or 40 other people, and I knew going into it that I'm not gonna get this. Like, I am surrounded by professionals. I it's a reasonable management of expectation that I would not get a call back, but I still went and did it because I thought the experience of the audition would be worth its weight in money of education, because I would at least get to go in the booth and see how it's done and know how to prepare for it down the line. It was kind of the precursor to me getting into radio. I would still like to do voiceover work for animes or for any sort of cartoon. And when I experienced it at the audition, it kind of got the spark going to maybe I can get into radio and go there and do more theater stuff, which is why I did the play in college, because I thought that would prepare for, how to get into character and how to be a character. And just like singing, what I've told clients, I used to freelance helping people out in their recording studios, and I produced a few albums for people because they trusted me for whatever reason. Anyway, but it's true, and I did good work. I tried to get across. I remember several times working with hip hop artists, and they'd say, "Oh, I want to sound like." I was like, "What's your inspiration?" They go, "Oh, I want to sound like 50 Cent. Oh, I want to sound like Ludacris. Oh, I want to sound like Dr. Dre." And I would tell them, even though I don't have a huge hip hop background, I am very aware of those artists and what they sound like. I said, okay, well, 50 has a very unique sound. Ludacris has a very unique sound. Dr. Dre has a very unique sound. They've got their sounds on lock. They've got they've got that character locked down.
Their sound.
It's their sound. So let's find your sound. And one of the ways I help these mostly guys do this, they be rapping about, oh, I wrote this about this girl who did me wrong, or this girl that I like, or this girl that whatever. I'd say, so picture that the girl is right in front of you. She's very skinny, she's black, and she has a gold head because it's a microphone stand with a microphone on top of it. I said, just picture she's right there standing, and don't shake your face. I didn't say anything wrong. This is verbatim stuff I would say to these hip hop artists. I'd say, picture if you're writing this song, this flow for the girl, picture she's right there, and you're this pop filter right here. Picture like that. You're up in her face telling her all this stuff. You have all this emotion in you that you wrote the song for. Picture that's her right in front of you, and I promise to God you'll find your sound in that. And if nothing else, this song will sound so much better because you actually have.
Did that work?
Yes, it did. In like most cases, that was like the instant, like, oh yeah, you're right. And even if they didn't really fully know what they were doing, if it was the first time they'd ever method acted or method recorded, like it brought the level of the song, the energy, just like way closer to where they wanted it. It's like, so just use that trick in the future, because music, and especially hip hop, it's getting into a character. 50 has his character, Dre has his character, Snoop has his character, Eminem has his character. All these guys have their character in this role that they get into, and they psych themselves up for before they get in the studio. So don't say you want to sound like them. Just put yourself in that emotional space and talk to the microphone like they're the person you're talking about, and you'll get there. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it is acting. And I want to do voice. That's all come around to say, I want to try doing VOs again for animes.
That'd be cool.
Gee, thanks, mister. It's my birthday.
See, I could be a little...
You are very animated.
Yeah.
I mean, just on the regs.
Oh my goodness. We'll be right back with more Geek Therapy Radio. Thank you, Sarah, for being on with me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
The show. we'll be back with one more segment. Like I always say, in the meantime, in the break, if you're listening on KPRC 950 AM, you have a few minutes here to follow all the social media stuff. Just Google Geek Therapy Radio, and you'll find the Facebook, you'll find the Instagram, you'll find the YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe, and if you just want a very simple thing to remember,
geektherapyradio.com.
Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I hope you've enjoyed my interview with one of my best friends, Craig, my special needs best friend. He has surprisingly a lot to say. He's been working with a speech therapist, so his speech has been getting a little better. And I'm saying this because initially, before I decided to do the interview, my first thought was, well, it might be a pretty difficult interview to undertake because, you know, one of his conditions is that he's not as eloquent as, let's say, as William Shakespeare. But then I thought, am I that eloquent? No. If you've been listening to the show, you hear that I bumble over words all the time. So that wasn't a consideration. Two, the next consideration for Craig was, what can we dig into with him that he's a geek about? How can we make it fit the show? But I remembered the motto of my show is that we are all geeks about something. So as you heard in the interview at the beginning of the show, Craig is a geek about bowling. He's a geek about TV. He's a geek about going to church. Those are all things that he loves to do. So we are all geeks about something. You shouldn't ever look at somebody and just assume that because of however they appear to be, that they might not be a geek like you are or like I am. Because again, the motto of the show is that we are all geeks about something. So if you're looking at some big burly dude, you know what he might be into? He might be into poodles and knitting. Who knows? But if you're into cars, if you're into motorcycles, whatever you're into, you're a geek about something. Let's get on to actual topics. Did you know that there could be life on Venus? Venus is the closest planet to the sun, and you might not think that it's a very hospitable place to life, and you would be absolutely correct. But researchers are discovering that there may be a Goldilocks zone in the atmosphere about 30 miles above the surface, where the temperature reaches a nice and balmy 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, 140 degrees Fahrenheit is pretty warm, but it's not completely inhospitable to life forms as we know it. They could exist. There are germs and bacteria and all sorts of things, critters. What are those little water bears or whatever? They can live up there too. I'm just saying those are examples of organic life that can exist in temperatures of 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So we were looking at Venus and we discovered these dark blooms in the atmosphere that happen every once in a while, and it's now theorized that possibly these dark blooms in the atmosphere might be like the algae blooms we experience in our water systems on Earth, in lakes, in streams, in rivers, in oceans. Red algae, that's a thing that happens. It's devastating to fish and such, but it's still living organisms that bloom in whatever material they live in. So these dark blooms in the Venetian atmosphere could be, it is not impossible that it could be organic life. It could be spores, it could be whatever microorganisms that can be carried aloft in the winds and clouds of Venus. Now, the next step, of course, is to send a probe to Venus into the atmosphere, if possible, to take a sample of the atmosphere and see, hopefully prove our hypothesis that perhaps there is life on Venus. Also, in case you missed it this week, which I kind of hope you did, because I would be honored to have broken the news to you, Intel, their mobile CPUs, the 8th generation, now offer up to 6 cores. 6 cores and 12 threads in a mobile 45-watt CPU package. That is usually these upgrades in PCs and in laptops and notebooks year to year are kind of incremental. They do a little better at optimizing each level of damn it. Yeah, I'm leaving. This is an edit point. I'm leaving that in there. I'm leaving that damn it in there because I keep getting interrupted. You know, I have the door closed when I'm recording for a reason, as most people do. The door closed means, hey, tap on the glass if you want to come in. But it's not the person's fault. I mean, I am technically at work right now, so I need to be available. But it was just frustrating being in a train of thought. And then I got to actually do work stuff. Real work stuff? What's that? So anyways, there are incremental changes each year to the efficiency of the processor, basically. But this 8th generation of chips, this 6-core 45-watt package chip, that's leaps and bounds. All the benchmarks are noticeable, at least 20% better, if not 50% better, due to 4 more threads, 2 cores and 4 more threads. This is leaps and bounds better. Does that make me want to go out and buy a new gaming laptop? Yes, it does. Do I need to do that? No, I don't. Will I be perfectly happy with my current 7th gen Core i7? Absolutely. In GTX 1060? Yes. I've got an MSI GS43 VR. It is still baller status. Even though it's only 4 cores and 8 threads, not 6 cores and 12 threads, I am still just so perfectly happy with it. It's an amazing laptop. Maybe let's talk about another little techie thing that's going on today. What else is going on in tech news in this last minute or two that I have on the show? And this is another edit point. Never in the history of radio has it been so difficult to record 7 minutes of audio. Anyways, Apple has announced that they are trying to roll out their own proprietary CPU for use in their products as early as 2020. Now, do you remember, Apple used to use their own proprietary CPUs until Intel blew them out of the water and they started putting Intel CPUs in their PCs. Now they're going back to hopefully using their own. I don't know why they're doing this. I have all sorts of speculations that I can't get into right now since it's the end of the show. And since it's the end of the show, I'm reminding everybody, please be good to each other. Please love each other. Please reach out to somebody in need or somebody on the fringe of society who you think might not be given a voice. Just listen to what they have to say. And with that, that's it for Geek Therapy Radio this week. I love you all. Be good to each other. See you next week.
Geeks are rad. So go to geektherapyradio.com and let us know your geek thing.